All right, so this is part two, if you're watching on YouTube, of Shooting the Breeze Sailing Podcast from the escapepods.com, episode 30. If you're listening to the podcast, this is all going to seem a little seamless to you. Uh, but anyway, I was just telling a story of my vacation and all that kind of stuff. And what I want to get into now is what I did after I got back. On July 1st, I was able to head down to the Susquehanna Yacht Club, which on the screen is right here. And basically, I've been in contact with Carol Park. She's a member there and a lightning racer. And for years now, I've been emailing them back and forth about events and stuff for the Examiner.com articles that I write. And finally, I was like, when I come home from work on Wednesdays, uh, on daylight, I drive down from Route 441 up towards Route 30, and it's a big, tall, Chickies Hill there. Come down, and I can see the sails out on the river every Wednesday night. And it's like, man, one of these days, I'm gonna stop down there and I'm gonna check it out. So finally, I'd said to Carol, hey, I'm coming over one of these times. She emailed me and said, hey, we're racing on whatever Wednesday it was. I was out sailing for vacation. I was like, well, I can't do that, but I can do July 1st. So we set it up, and I went down and checked it out and was able to crew on Carol's Lightning. Basically, they have a Lightning fleet. They have a Flying Scot fleet, and they're trying to develop a Comet fleet, and then they have lasers and sunfish, just more for general use. Um, but every Wednesday night they get together and do racing, and it's Lightning Fleet 253 and Flying Scot Fleet 81. And Carol's boat is a Lightning, and her friend Sharon was on with us. And basically, you run a Lightning with three crew. You got the skipper running the main sail and the tiller and directing things, and then you've got the bow person doing the foresail and spinnaker pole when the spinnaker's up downwind, and then I was in the middle, and basically I was just ballast and then helping launch and retrieve the spinnaker, and then trimming it while we're running downwind. So it was a great day. We had a lot of wind at the beginning, actually, uh, but it kind of died off halfway through the race. There was a lot of current. It had rained the previous couple of days. So we were kind of fighting current in the upwind leg, and then we missed the mark like three times trying to get over there and get ahead of it. Ended up getting around it, coming back down. And then we thought they called the race on the downwind leg, but then they said, no, there's another leg, so we had to go back upwind again, then around the mark again. So anyway, it was pretty cool because I had never done any small boat racing before, and it was just really interesting to me. When I race, and I say race very loosely, I'm usually by myself, and it's not that technical. I mean, I'm trying to get the most out of the wind, but I'm kind of just making all the decisions on my own. When you're on a small boat like that, I mean, every 5-10 seconds, if something's going on, they're talking back and forth, and the bow person's saying, the jib is an inch away from the spreader. It's a half an inch away from the spreader. The telltale's doing this. There's a puff of wind coming. Um, the next crew over is jiving now or tacking now, and just all that kind of stuff. They have special heading compass that tells them how far off the wind they are, and every puff that comes along, they kind of let off, and then they lift into it, and it's just pretty cool. I've never really done any of that, and we have a Flying Scot or two down at the club, and I know like a bunch of the members ended up going down. I think they were buying either Lightnings or lasers. I can't remember which, and I keep screwing them up. And you'll hear that on the interview if you listen to the podcast. I got to interview, which I didn't know anything about when I got there, but there's a race team with a member from the Susquehanna Yacht Club, Danielle Pryor. Grew up sailing. Her dad's a member. He's part of the racing team, and the race, sets up the races and stuff at the Susquehanna Yacht Club. So she's grown up there sailing for the last 10 or so years, sailing Lightnings. She is part of Team Lightning Team USA. Right here, you can see on Facebook if you're looking on YouTube. They're heading up to the Pan American Games. It's her and Justin, and they were there. They were racing that night at Susquehanna Yacht Club, and then they were having a little party for them afterwards. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't know anything about this, but they're representing the U.S. at the Pan American Games in Toronto starting later this week. I guess they have sailing as a big part of the Pan American Games, which are North and South America in about 7 or 8 countries, I guess. And they have 10 classes of sailboats, one designs that they're racing, and each country has one team for each class. And I guess the U.S. out of the 10 classes, the U.S. is competing in 9. But I mean, this is second only to the Olympics when it comes to competition. So it was really cool that I got to interview them and hang out with them a little bit. So check out their Facebook page. It's Lightning Team USA, and it's Justin, Danielle, and then a girl named Caroline from Barnegat Light, New York, or I'm sorry, New Jersey, and Justin is from Nyack, New York. So check them out. It was cool hanging out with them. I did want to, I wanted to get Carol on the recorder, do an interview with Carol Park. You can see her there. But she was busy running this party after the racing was done, and they were having a cookout and sending off party for them heading up to Toronto later that week. So I wasn't able to get an interview with Carol, but definitely want to check out Carol and racing over there at the Susquehanna Yacht Club sometime again in the future. I was thinking about becoming a social member, and I looked at the membership thing, and it was like, oh well, you can be a full member for $340 a year, or you can be a social member for $270. So that may not happen, but I would definitely like to be invited back to go racing at least once again and interview Carol. Thanks so much to her for inviting me down to check it out, and I invite all of you to check out the Susquehanna Yacht Club. It's close to me. It's like 20 minutes, half hour from my house, so it's definitely closer than the bay. But I've already got one boat I have a hard time getting to. So anyway, when I got back, wasn't able to interview Carol, but when I got back, Nora and I sat on the couch and talked a little bit about small boat racing and international class racing and what the different boats are and all that kind of stuff. So we got a couple minutes of us. Nora sailed when she was down in Annapolis growing up. She spent her summers at the Severn Sailing Association. Her stepdad was a member there, and she sailed in Optimists and 420s. And if you listen to the interview on the podcast, I kind of get the lasers and the lightnings kind of intertwined and couldn't remember which one was which. And the lasers are the smaller boats. If you're looking online here, this is the International Lightning Class Association. So we kind of just talk and hammer out. She was looking on the phone, trying to figure out. We were figuring out which class is which, and what size the boats are and how much they cost and all that sort of stuff. So if you're listening to the podcast, you'll catch all that later on. But for now, I just want to, last thing is if you're looking for what I was talking about earlier in part 1 of the cruise that the crew at Hanson's Point was doing, you can check out hansonspointyachtclub.com, and they have a whole section for the June cruise. Pictures from the cruisers that were out, and like I said, they went to Tangier Island and down south of the bay. It's a full 2-week cruise, so you can check that out at hansonspoint.com. And also, if you're looking for more information on the Sippy Cup race, you can go to waldenrigging.com, and they're the sponsors for the Sippy Cup. Like I said, it was kind of runs parallel with the Governor's Cup. So the bigger boats are leaving Annapolis and heading down to St. Mary's on an overnight across the bay race. And Sippy Cup is the same thing, but it goes from the Northeast River, red number 2 off Rocky Point, to the flashing green buoy south of the main shipping channel down on the Bay Bridge overnight. And that's something I really like. Really wanted to do. I haven't done a lot of serious racing, and this will be the first, I guess, serious race that I've ever done. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting the recorder out and getting Mr. Smoker back on the podcast. So for now, if you're watching on YouTube, go to theescapepods.com or look up the Shooting the Breeze Sailing podcast on iTunes, and you can get the full version of the podcast. And for those of you on the podcast, coming up next, we're going to talk to Justin and Danielle from Lightning Team USA and talk to Nora about some One Design racing. All right, sail on, brother.